All right, we are going to talk a little bit about joining your hexes. Now that you've got 60 hexes kind of sitting around, you want to put them together and make something other than a pile of hexes. So I'm going to show you using, I've got a bunch of little squares that have been, not going to lie, sitting in my closet for the past 2 years because I don't like joining things. So I had this great idea. I was going to make a quilt. And then I made all the squares and I'm like, I don't want to join them. And they've been sitting in my closet for about 2 years. See, aren't they all pretty? So we are going to use my squares to show you different techniques on how to join your hexagons. The join that both me and Carrie Beth are using for this particular project this time around, so on our make along with you blankets, we're both doing a single crochet on the right side. So what that's going to do is give you a little bit of a ridge along your hexagon, provide a little bit of texture on the right side of your blanket, so the side that you guys are going to see. So to start with, you want to take your piece that you're going to be joining to the other piece that you're going to be joining, and you're going to join the two wrong sides. Sorry, you're going to not join, you're going to kind of sandwich them together so wrong sides are facing wrong side. This is the right side, wrong side, right side. You're going to take a yarn of your choice. I definitely recommend, and I will tell you why in a second, you are going to want to choose a color that matches at least one of your hexagons to make the join invisible. It's not really going to be invisible because you are going to have that ridge. We are doing a single crochet, but it's not going to it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb, I think is what I'm trying to say. So I'm joining a white and a black square, and I'm going to use a black for the joining method. So you're just going to attach your yarn in one of the corners using a slip stitch, and then just kind of pull that tight. And then you want to very closely, and this is going to work very well for my squares because they're all granny squares. They all have the same amount of stitches. For your hexagons, if you're joining a lacy hexagon to, let's say, something like our leaning towers, you're not going to have the same amount of stitches along each side. If that is the case, you can take some blocking pins, which I had close by, and then my daughter did something with, and now I don't have them close by. And I don't have my minions here, so I can't even get her to find them. But you can take some blocking pins and match up corner to corner, corner to corner, and then just make sure that they're kind of closely matched up along the ends as close as possible, and then you can crochet along that way. So what you want to do is in the back loops only, insert your hook and just do a single crochet. So I'm inserting, we're going to move that tail out of the way here for a second. I usually crochet over my ends. That's why my favorite method of joining is single crochet, so that way I can crochet over as many ends as possible and I don't have to weave, because after this week, you're not going to want to weave anything else. Trust me. So I'm going to insert my hook into the white one, back loop only, and then the black one, which you can't see because I stupidly decided to use black, trying to get light on there. Anyway, this is why we only use light colored yarns for tutorials. There is a back loop there, and we're just going to insert my hook into that one. So that's not both loops. That's just one hook, or one loop, I promise. You can't see it, but I promise it's what I'm doing. And then just work your single crochet all along the edge taking careful caution to use the back loop only, or if you want to do front loop, both loops as well, that's okay too. I prefer the back loop only. It kind of gives it more of a, when you're done, it lays flatter than if you were to crochet through both loops. Crocheting through both loops kind of gives it a little bit more of almost rippled sort of effect, which is easily fixed by blocking or even just washing your blanket. But for those who don't like blocking, if you crochet through the back loops, it will lay flat when you're done. So as you can see, it's not very noticeable because we're used the same. I feel like I should do a manicure before I do these videos. You see all my yucky looking, anyway, you don't see that ridge as often. It provides a nice texture when you're touching it, but you don't see it because we've used a nice contrasting sort of color against the black. And then you're not seeing the join on the wrong side. Now, if you were to use a color that does not match the two pieces that you're joining, and I'm going to show you very quickly with my beige here, very quickly. With my beige, I'm just doing a single crochet, back loop only join with wrong sides facing in. So it's exactly what I just went through, so you don't need to see me do this slowly because I did just do it slowly. Now you can definitely see the beige against the white and the black, and then when you flip it over, you can see the beige yarn that's doing the attaching. And for the quilt that I am working on, I will show you here in just a second. I was attaching two black pieces, and I used a beige because there was a beige next to that. So I was using the beige to connect these two, and I just decided to continue using the beige. And you can tell definitely, even though I joined on the wrong side, that join is standing out. It's sticking out like a sore thumb. So you want to use, unless you want that contrasting color, you want to use a color that closely matches the two pieces that you're joining. So that is a single crochet on the right side, so that with the wrong side facing in. If you don't want that ridge, you want your right side of the blanket to be a smooth surface, you can take your two pieces and with your right sides facing in, do the exact same thing. And then that way when it's joined, that ridge is going to be on the back side. It's not going to be on, you won't see that when you're displaying your blanket, which is what I'm doing with that quilt that I had just showed you. I'm doing a single crochet on the wrong side. So that's single crochet whip stitch. I'm going to, okay, I know what I'm doing. For a whip stitch, you are going to need some yarn, and I'm going to, again, you want to use the same kind of color of yarn, but for this, I'm going to show you using black so that you can see the join, and I'm going to attach this beige to, we'll do a full white, even though you can't really see the difference in colors in that video, and then you're going to need a darning needle, a sewing needle, a, what else are these called? A tapestry needle. They're called many different things. Pokey thing. That's what I call mine. Mine's the pokey thing. But if you don't have any, you're going to Michael's, you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know where to go, you can always ask somebody for a tapestry needle or a darning needle and they'll be able to show you these. This is a rather larger one. You can get many different sizes. The smaller they are, the pokier they will be. The smaller that will be. I like using my larger one because then I'm not fighting trying to get my yarn through it. So that is that. And then you're just going to prepare your needle. I took sewing class. I should know that proper terminology. Anyway, you're going to do that. Love my technical jargon there. Just do that. Do what I do. Do what the doo-wops do. I don't even have little kids. Why do I know that? All right. What did I say? Whip stitch or mattress stitch? I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I don't even know the difference. Like, I know what... Here. I'm just going to start. And I know that me and Carrie Beth and Tanya were talking about doing tutorials about joining, and we had talked about how everybody has their own way to join, and a lot of experienced or intermediate crocheters might be a little hesitant to do a tutorial because they're going to get somebody who's a little bit more experienced and be like, no, you're doing that wrong, or no, that's what this is called. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, there is no wrong, there's only you. Do it the way that you feel most comfortable doing. Personally, the way that I'm going to be, the next two ways that I'm going to be showing you, they have more ends to weave in at the end, so I tend not to do them. So I think I'm going to be showing you, I think this is the mattress stitch. So we've started, inserted, attached our yarn. There we go. I know how to English. And then again, just those back loops, you're going to insert your hook and you're going to work back and forth along those stitches, working through the back loops only. Yes, this is the mattress stitch, I think. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, please, so that, you know, the next time I do a tutorial, I know what I'm talking about. That being said, do you really need to know the terminology, or do you just need to know how to do it? I think you just need to know how. This is actually... Dude. So then when you get to the end, you would fasten off, and then you would weave in that end. I don't know where you would weave it into, because I'm using contrasting color. It's going to be noticeable no matter where I weave it in. And then I'd have that end too. So yes, there's that. When you use a contrasting color, the not a contrasting color, a color that closely matches your pieces, that join is not going to be as noticeable. So that's the wrong side. This will be the right side. So again, those won't be noticeable if you were to use a white or a beige color. So that was the, and I'm just going to take this out, mattress stitch. No, we're not tightening it up, we're taking you out, because now we're going to do the whip stitch. Unless that was the whip stitch, then we're going to do the mattress stitch. Pretty sure this was the mattress stitch, though. Weaving ends is another tutorial that a lot of my admins in our MagiCAL group have said, you know, like, they don't want to get on live and, you know, do a tutorial and say this is how you should weave in ends, because there's bound to be somebody that comes along and says, no, I do it this way. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as your ends are woven in and secure, and they're not going to come apart. And who cares how Joe Blow down the streets weaves in their ends? The main objective is to make sure that your piece isn't going to fall apart. The worst thing that can happen, especially like when you're using like hexagons or a granny square or something where you start from the center and work your way out, if you don't weave in that center end, I have seen it on many of my pieces where that end will come loose and the inside will start to unravel. And then I got to get pretty creative to try and close that hole while still keeping the integrity of the look that I was going for, and yeah, not fun. So now we're going to do the whip stitch. So again, we've put the yarn through the eye of the needle. I'm a big fan of working through the back loops in any join technique, but absolutely if you want to use both loops for either the matrix technique that I've shown you or even the whip stitch that I'm going to show you, that's completely fine too. I'm going to continue using the back loops, but a whip stitch is where is my yarn? So I come up and over with my darning needle, pull it tight. So with the last one, we were going back and forth. So I would then go through the white and then the beige, and then the beige and then the white, kind of back and forth. We're going to continue doing the beige and then the white all the way along. All the live long day. Do, 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 do. So it kind of gives a little loop-de-loop. Loop. In retrospect, I probably should not have taken out the mattress stitch, because then I could show you side by side what they look like, but that's okay. You can tell that I'm used to doing lives, because, you know, I will sit there and I will talk and ramble on and on and on, which I usually do in my lives, because generally when I ramble on and on and on, there is at least one or two people who are watching that can talk back to me, and I'm expecting, you know, a comment to pop up that somebody's, you know, saying something, and nobody is, because this is a pre-recorded video. So comment below, let me know that somebody is watching. And that is our whip stitch. So again, that is our wrong sides. So when we lay it flat, this would be the back of your blanket. This was through the back loop only. Just kind of give each end a little bit of a tug to make sure that they're tight. And that will be the front side. You can tell that right here needs a little bit of a tug to make sure that it's tight and secure, and that yarn is not going anywhere. So that is 3 or 4 different techniques. I don't know if I would call this single crochet 2 techniques, because, you know, on one you're doing wrong side facing, the other you're doing right side facing. Either way, it's still a single crochet. Whereas, you know, it's still a single crochet. So 2 or 3. One more. Let's do one more, shall we? I'm going to do 2 blacks. I have a whole bin of these, like 252 squares that I forgot to or didn't attach yet. I pulled the bin out for a very specific reason. I am attaching them. I promise. It won't get done. Okay. So another technique. Why am I doing black? That's silly. You won't be able to see what I'm doing. All right, 2 whites. With the right side facing, you're going to attach your yarn with a slip stitch. So with my last one, I would do a single crochet and I would crochet over that tail. For this one, we're just going to back loops only, slip stitch along. The slip stitch, you can't really crochet over that tail, so that is something that you are going to have to weave in at the end, if that is the method that you choose. But it's very, very similar to our single crochet join, except we're using a slip stitch instead of a single crochet. It's going to be less of a ridge when we're done on the wrong side, but it's going to be more ends. Plus, I really love the texture of that single crochet join. So there's that. You can, it's almost a seamless join. Like I don't even feel that ridge that you felt with the single crochet. So that's our wrong side. And that is our right side. I don't know if you can tell, the lighting is not the greatest here, but got a flashlight. You can kind of see the join there, so you are going to want to use the same color yarn when you do this join as well, unless you're going for that, you know, contrasting look. My choice of join at this current point, we'll see if that changes. I'm going to be taking my contrast color of that burgundy red and joining my gray and blue hexagons with a single crochet on the right side. So what I'm hoping for, the desired effect, will be, when all is said and done, is that each hexagon is going to have a nice frame of that burgundy red that I am using. The burgundy red you've seen on my 3D flower hexagons. So it is just going to be a contrast color that's kind of thrown in here and there throughout my blanket. It's not going to be one of my main colors. So I think that the join in red would be a nice contrast. So I'm kind of hoping that each hexagon is nicely framed. I think that is all. Just a couple tutorials, brief. I wouldn't even call it a tutorial because half the time I didn't even know what I was doing. Brief overview of a few different join techniques that we have used or would suggest using, and some advice on how to get the best seam possible. Sorry, I'm just looking here. No, not good. I might pop back in a little bit and do a tutorial for you guys on how to weave in ends, or how I weave in ends, using just, you know, my darning needle. Sadly, I do not have any. I went on a weaving marathon the other day and I don't have anything to weave in for you. Totally lying. I see an end on this quilt. Let's do this now really quickly. Really quickly. Okay? So I have an end here. And I've got in my beige square. This is an end from that single crochet join technique that I had just showed you on my quilt that was sitting next to me. I take my needle and I prepare it. I know there's a terminology, and somebody who sews will come back and tell me this is the word that you were looking for. I actually forgot the word paralyzed the other day. That is just how my brain works sometimes. I told my husband that I was frozen and couldn't move. And I'm like, there is a word for that. I don't know what the word is. And he did not think to suggest paralyzed because he's like, she would know what the word paralyzed means. Yeah, and it was like a day later, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the word. And he just looked at me incredulously. I can remember that word though, but I can't remember the terminology on how to thread a needle. Anyway, weaving in ends. You want to kind of go back through and really secure your ends, just so that your work does not begin to unravel. I don't know what I just did. I started to unravel that. See, that's what you don't want. I'm just going to go through that loop there that looks like the end of my single crochet. Pull that tight. I've seen some videos that say that you can go like over and under and over and under previous stitches like that, personally, and that's not, I find that that is a very easy way for your ends to kind of start to unravel because it's not very secure. So what I would do is I would take my needle, and underneath the stitches, sometimes when I'm lazy, I'll just go like right underneath the stitches and I will pull that tight. But then I also will go through stitches like that, and then I will go up, and then I will go down. So, I mean, really, what I do, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I will just choose any random place within the piece that I am weaving And if there is, like, and as long as it's a matching color, you won't be able to see that end. And then I go back, and then I go that way, and then I might go up. Like, it's just, there's nothing. There's no method to my madness. The longer my end is, the longer I weave it. Make sure that my end is really secure and that it is not going to go anywhere, because you don't want it to go anywhere, because then you'd have to come back, fix your piece. And then when that is all said and done, I can just snip as close to the stitch as possible, or as close to the piece as possible, without snipping another one of my stitches. I've done that before, where I've gotten too close and I've actually snipped one of the double crochets or the single crochets that I have done in the middle of my piece. Whoopsie daisy. And I've had to get creative. That was always fun. So yeah, I don't have scissors next to me, but I would just snip that. And then my back would look like that. Or like that. That's one. Where all of my ends are woven in. So yes, briefly discussed how to weave in the ends, went over a few tutorials on how to join, and that will definitely prepare you for your ends weaving marathon if you haven't already. And I know that you all have joined all of your ends to your, or joined, woven in all of your ends, because me and Carrie Beth have definitely stressed the importance of that for the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long we've been doing this. So nobody has any ends to weave in, right? That's what I thought. Join your hexagons, weave in the rest of the ends that you're going to have from joining. Check back to that document, because then the next step would be squaring off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend my day joining my hexagons using the single crochet method, and I will be back hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow to show you just how I squared off my 10 by 5 blanket portion thing. It's not a blanket yet. Could be a blanket. It's big enough for like a baby blanket. Anyway, tangent again. I need to do these live, I think, so people can be like, hey, Liv, like, focus. Because when I don't do them live, I can ramble on and on and on, and then I look at my time and I'm like, holy crap, this video is a half an hour. Anyway, I will be back for you guys shortly to do the squaring off video, and I've already done an HDC, I believe. And then that's part 4. And part 5 will be released very, very soon so that you guys can work ahead. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble. Bye now.